Hello and welcome to my Week 13 college football review. Now, first, before we start, I want to say I didn't do a NFL predictions because, on Thursday I was eating turkey and I was watching the games, and then by the time I realized that I need to make an NFL prediction video, it was already too late. Games were being played on Sunday, so I was like, I'm just going to have to skip it. So that happened, but let's get right into it. First off, we have Tulane at Cincinnati. I had Cincinnati winning this. We'll do my prediction first and then the actual final score after. I had Cincinnati winning this, and I thought they definitely could win it. But Tulane managed to pull through, and honestly, there was this feeling inside of me when the game was about to start. And honestly, a lot of my predictions are not on the point sometimes. I try to use fact versus my gut. But my gut said that Cincinnati was going to beat up Tulane. Well, wrong. Tulane managed to actually win this game and secure their spot in the AAC championship. And now Tulane looks to beat UCF. I mean, UCF can beat the crap out of Tulane once. But it's really hard to do that again twice. It's very hard to play a team twice unless they are just so dog terrible. So Tulane is looking, 2 losses. They could be looking at a nice bowl game, a very nice bowl game, and they control their destiny. But I was very surprised by the way Tulane played. Baylor at Texas. I wanted Baylor to win this game. I had it being a lot closer, and it was looking like it was going to be this close. But Texas scored 7 with 4 minutes left to give us the final score of this. And it was pretty close the whole game. Baylor led by the end of half. By the end of half. Or by the start of half. That's what I'm trying to say. Baylor led 19-17 at the start of half, I think. I think it was 19-17. And then Texas just pulled away later in the game. And I wanted Baylor to win this because Baylor's 6-6. That's ridiculous. They're so much better than what their record says. And honestly, I just don't like Texas. That's it. I just don't like Texas. No reason at all. I just don't like Texas. But the Longhorns do deserve this win. They do deserve a good bowl game. They have played teams very close all year, taking some sad L's and whatnot. But they're probably going to get a much better bowl game than they deserve because they're Texas. But I do think that this game was a well-deserved and earned win for Texas. Sad Baylor didn't get it. NC State at North Carolina. I said North Carolina State would win this by 3 points. And they did win it by 3 points. And this is supposed to be double overtime. NC State, I had a feeling that NC State was just better than North Carolina. I just had a feeling. North Carolina is going to get their ass beat by Clemson in the championship, whatever. They're going to get their ass beat. Simple. UCLA at Cal, a game I said there is no room for error on UCLA. They should destroy. What did they do? They show us the dark side of UCLA, which they have been flashing all over the place recently. Barely escaping Arizona State. My team, barely escaping ASU. Then they lose to U of A. Somehow. And then they lose to USC in a game they played down to 3 points, barely losing. And then they barely beat Cal. UCLA is either they're just falling apart or they're just not there yet. Either way, they'll finish off the regular season before their bowl game with a very good record for UCLA. Very good record. I did not expect it, but they got it. This game was so sketchy and just not nice for UCLA. Georgia Tech at Georgia. I said Georgia Tech would keep this game close and scare them, but Georgia would pull away later in the game, and that's exactly what happened. This obviously was 7-37, as humans know, or I think it was 7-31. I don't remember which one came first, the Georgia points or the Georgia Tech points. It was 7-37 at a time, and Georgia Tech scored with 3 minutes left. But Georgia Tech had 7 points on at first, and dude, they kept the game very close. It wasn't until 5 minutes, or it wasn't until 6 minutes left in the third quarter when Georgia took a demanding lead, and they were leading 7-23 at the end of the third quarter. Georgia Tech kept this game close and scary, as I expected them to, because Georgia does this all the time for some reason. Simple as that. Michigan at Ohio State. I said Michigan would win this. I did not think it was going to be as bad as it was. I thought Ohio State's offense would be able to get something done, but with C.J. Stroud just absolutely throwing his Heisman opportunity in the garbage and getting rocked by his rival. I don't know what that interception at the end was. I don't know what that was. And Ohio State should stay right spank at number 5. It sucks that they only have one loss and they're only going to maintain one loss because they struggled with Penn State. And as I look at Ohio State and watch them play more, to me, they don't look like a college football playoff team. So, if USC loses, which is very possible, if USC loses, which is like 1,000% possible, it could happen. Ohio State will be the team that goes in, which is just so annoying that Ohio State has to have one loss, because if Ohio State doesn't have one loss and they have 2 losses, let's say they lost to Penn State, then I guess Penn State would only have one loss. Well, let's just say they had a loss. There would be a 2-loss team, most likely Alabama, in the top 4. That would be ridiculous. That would just mean that this season would be phenomenal. That there is a 2-loss team, that just means the competition was there. But of course, Ohio State has to be them, and they just have to be that guy that just has to sit there. But Michigan took a dominant win. I'm just ranting about that. Michigan took a dominant win. Ohio State starts to look worse and worse. Michigan looks way better. They didn't even have Blake Corum in. They had the backup, who is just very good too, but Blake Corum wasn't even in, and they still rocked their shit. Michigan State at Penn State, a game that I had a little more high scoring than it actually was, but condensed down. I was right about Michigan State putting up points against Penn State. I don't know how this game played out. It looks like it was actually pretty close until, in the fourth quarter. For some reason, they went for 2 and they failed it. It was a pretty close game until the very end. Yeah, it was a very close game. And I had a feeling Michigan State would do that because Michigan State's recovering and Penn State's a little overrated. Simple as that. South Carolina Clemson, a game that I gave South Carolina a lot of points and kept it close, but a game I truly did not think that South Carolina was going to win. And if Clemson was a good team, Clemson should have won this game. They had plenty of time to put on a point, and they just pulled every possible mistake they possibly could. And South Carolina deserves to have this win. South Carolina beat Tennessee, and then they beat Clemson. They should get a fine bowl game. I swear, if this team gets like Texas or something, that would suck, because South Carolina has shown that they are a very good team. Louisville at Kentucky. I had this one a lot more high scoring than it was, but I had a feeling that Kentucky would win, and I was right. 13-point game. Louisville falls. Kentucky wins. SEC over ACC. It's just obvious. ACC is overrated. SEC is just better than the ACC. I almost nailed this game on the dime. I'm so surprised that I almost nailed this on the dime, because this could have gone any way, any direction. The final score was this. I said 23, and it was 27. I got Alabama's score right. I had a feeling that Alabama was not going to let this one be a close one, because they needed it. I had a feeling that they weren't going to let it be a close one, but I didn't think Auburn would go silently, not a 0-point domination. I had a feeling Auburn was going to get, something done. Oregon at Oregon State. I said Oregon State would win this. I was correct, but when I was watching the game, I did not think I was correct. What a fantastic comeback. 31-10 was the point deficit for a time. And from that point on, Oregon State said, you know what? Fuck you. And they allowed 3 points, and they came back and won the game. Just like that. And Oregon State takes down the Ducks. Huge W for the Beavers. Love it. Absolutely amazing. Iowa State at TCU, a game that I thought, obviously, TCU would keep this one close because they've kept every game this year close. And I think Iowa State, no, you're wrong. You're stupid. TCU must have been like, dude, we want to lay down the law before the college football playoffs, and this is the team to do it against. We could drop 63, and they did. Iowa State put up 14. I think somebody had this game on upset alert. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. And TCU dominated. Utah, Colorado, I had 49-10. It looks like Utah just kind of, when Colorado put some points down, they were like, all right, we'll just put some more points down to make it look like a better win. 21 points allowed by Colorado. I don't know how those points were allowed, whether they were at the very end or whatever, but, oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, they still allowed 21 points from Colorado. That's pretty sad. LSU at Texas A&M, a game that I said could be on upset alert. I mean, look at the thumbnail. You could go see for yourself. But I just couldn't give it to Texas A&M because Texas A&M has just been so inconsistent this year. I can't trust them. Well, I should have been able to trust them because, they beat them. I kind of knew it. I was like, it's just such a hard place to play at. Even though Texas A&M is such a bad team this year, I just think it's such a hard place for LSU to play at. Like, they're just not going to win it, and they didn't. UCF at USF, I said UCF would destroy this. They were destroying it until they let South Florida climb back in. I mean, they were up 31-7 and let South Florida climb right back in the bitch. Take the lead at a time, 38-39, and then UCF would take it with 20 seconds left. I mean, it's a big rivalry and whatnot at USF. I mean, it's a hard rivalry, but USF has one win. They're 1-11. UCF looking a little shaky, having a hard time against a bad rival. I get rival games are rival games, but dude, this team is 1-11. You were almost their second win, and you're going into the AAC championship. You better shaping up your act, UCF. Notre Dame at USC. I had this game being a shootout. I had a feeling USC would win it. I didn't think that Notre Dame was good enough to beat them. It wasn't as much of a shootout. I mean, USC put down the points. Notre Dame just didn't put down the points. It was an 11-point game. I think it was an 11-point game, but yeah, Notre Dame scored a touchdown with a minute left, so all right. Tennessee at Vanderbilt, I gave this one to Vanderbilt. Don't kill me. I thought Vanderbilt was doing good, but Tennessee, man, I guess I overlooked them after Tennessee lost to South Carolina. Kind of fucked up by me to give it to Vanderbilt, but I just thought that Vanderbilt would get their first bowl game with this win, and it was just at Vanderbilt. I mean, these are rivals. Like, maybe people would be there, and it was just quite the opposite. Vanderbilt got shut out by their rival, and Tennessee is going. I should have not been an asshole to Tennessee, but I was. Kansas at Kansas State, nearly nailed it on the dime. I was 2 points off. I had a feeling Kansas State would win this by, a lot, because Kansas State obviously needed to win to get into the Big 12 championship, and it's their rival, and it's at Kansas State. I had a feeling that Kansas would put points down because they have, in all these games, they just have allowed a lot more. So Kansas has got to figure out their defense if they want to be a good game. But Kansas is in a bowl game, baby. Let's go. Washington at Washington State. I did not think Washington was going to win this game, considering Washington State is a defensive team, a very defensive team, and they played defensive. This game was back and forth the whole game. At the end of the second quarter, it was 28-27, Washington leading. And then it was 35-27, then 35-33. And the fourth quarter, Washington State just didn't want to play. They just stopped. Washington scored 21 unanswered points to give us the final score of 51-33. And they dominated their rival on the road. Very surprising. Washington deserves praise for this, and they're getting praise. And if ASU didn't knock Washington off, Washington would be in the playoff race. But guess what? ASU knocked them off. And that is it for my college football Week 13 review. If you made it this far, let me know what you think in the comments. Liking and subscribing is helpful and epic and super cool. But that's all for me. Adios.